Hey, if you're an electrician in Maryland shopping for insurance, you've probably asked yourself, how much is this going to cost me? And you're not alone in asking this question. I've got answers for you. I'm Daryl Henry, and I help electricians across the state of Maryland get the right coverage without overpaying. And what I'm going to do is break down for you exactly what you need and give you an estimated price tag and what you give you ideas on how to keep the cost down. So, first off, let's get one thing clear. There is no one size fits all price. I've written policies for individual electricians for under $800 a year, and I've written larger crews that cost more than $10,000 a year. So, why the huge range? It's because pricing depends on five core factors. So, let's walk through them. The first core factor is what type of work do you do? Insurance companies want to know, are you working in homes? Are you working in industrial buildings? Are you working in data centers? Are you going up on scaffoldings? Are you going on roofs? Where are you working? What type of work are you doing? Because that all makes an impact on how risky your work is. So, when you're looking at your application, just realize that the type of work you do, and if you go underground, way high up, if you're working in government buildings, all of this is going to factor into how much you pay for insurance. The second factor that's going to impact how much you pay is your payroll or your subcontractor cost. So, for most of you, if you look at your liability insurance policy and you look at the classification, you'll actually see that what you are measured on is your payroll or the cost of your subcontractors, which means you got to pay close attention to that. So, it is less expensive to have a subcontractor, but the big drawback on subcontractors is a lot of insurance companies have thresholds on how much work they're okay with you subcontracting out. It depends on the type of contractor you are. A lot of times it's 25%, 25 to 40%. And if you subcontract out more than that, they're just not going to want to insure you at all because you have less control over your subcontractors. Insurance companies know that. And so a lot of them really prefer to work with trade electricians that employ all of their workers. Now, if you are going to subcontract out, it's also important that you're validating that they have both liability and workers' compensation insurance. And if they don't have those, don't let them come on your job site. Because at the end of the day, if the subcontractor is not paying for the insurance, you're going to end up paying for it for them. The third factor that weighs heavily on how much you pay is your location. Where you work impacts the level of risk. So if you're going into DC, if you're going into Baltimore, every jurisdiction will treat you a little bit differently. Also, really on auto insurance, it makes a big difference. And anybody that's driven on the Beltway around Baltimore or around DC understands what I'm saying, that it's riskier to drive in those areas than it is to go to Cumberland or Hagerstown. So where you park your cars is going to matter a lot for how much you pay. And if you have employees that are living and working in DC or West Virginia or Pennsylvania, if you're a multi-state operation, where they live is going to impact how much you have to pay for workers' compensation insurance. Rates vary between states, so your location matters a lot. The fourth thing, claims history, weighs very heavily on your premium. Insurance companies determine how much you're going to pay based on a couple of things. One, they look backward and they ask, did you have claims in the past? Because people that had claims in the past are typically more likely to have claims in the future. And then they try and predict the future based on what all the electricians in Maryland and all the electricians in the United States are experiencing. And so, if you are a person or an organization that's had claims in the past, unless you can tell a really good story about how you fixed your operations, it's going to weigh into how much you pay in the future. It's just the fact of life. The fifth thing that's going to impact how much you pay are the limits that you choose. I mean, if you're going to DC and doing work for the city and they say you need a $5 million umbrella, that's going to cost you more money versus having only $1 million. It's also going to matter based on the contracts that you have to comply with. Maybe they're going to have certain language that they want on the certificate of insurance. Make sure you read your contracts. Please read your contracts before you go ask for a certificate of insurance. Sometimes your insurance policy can't match your contract. Okay, rant aside. But the limits that you choose are going to factor a lot in how much you pay for insurance. So, here are three ideas on how you can save money. First, bundle your coverage. If you put your liability and your auto and workers' compensation insurance with one company, you may pay more for one individual line of coverage, but more often than not, you're going to end up paying less overall for a couple reasons. One, insurance companies like being able to spread out risk. They like having a customer with multiple lines of coverage. So you can sometimes negotiate them down a little bit on an individual line so that they can get all of it. Second, it's going to be more stable that way because if you have a claim on a workers' compensation policy and that's the only line of coverage you have with the insurance company, well, they're going to be less likely to stick with you than if you have liability and auto and workers' comp and tools and umbrella with them. Fact of life. The second thing you can do to keep your costs down is verify your subs have liability and workers' compensation insurance. The way it works in Maryland is that if your subcontractors don't have workers' compensation insurance and get hurt on your job site, you're going to end up footing the bill on your workers' compensation policy. And since the insurance companies know that, they want you to pay the premium. So if you really don't want to pay for the workers' compensation insurance for your subs, make sure they have insurance before they step on your job site. And if you don't have proof, don't finish paying them until they send you proof of insurance. Just don't let it happen. Otherwise, you will end up paying for their insurance. The third idea is keep your classifications clean. Basically, if you've got somebody that's working in the office, it's much less expensive to insure somebody that works in the office than somebody that goes out and does the work. So make sure that when you're keeping your books, you can clearly identify who does what kind of work so that when you get audited at the end of the year, you can show the insurance company, yes, this person does this type of work and this person does this type of work so that you can make sure the less expensive people you pay less for. So bottom line, electrician insurance in Maryland doesn't have to burn all the holes in your pocket. It's still not going to be cheap because the work you do is it's got some risk to it. But if you do it right and you structure it well, you don't have to get killed by the insurance companies. So if you're looking for someone to help you through that process, my contact information's in the description. And if this video was helpful, please hit like and subscribe. It helps other people like you find the content. If you've got questions, go ahead and drop them in the comments. Above all, thank you so much for watching. Please go build something great.